Dr. Swan, we appreciate you taking time from the campaign trail. We see you're in your vehicle moving and grooving, for lack of a better term. Before we dive into the office that you're running and your platform, could you give us a point of reference where you're based out of, number one, and then number two, what are some of your professional and community moving parts that you're involved in?
Yes. So I'm right outside of Atlanta. I'm just about 20 minutes outside of Atlanta, in Rockdale County. And a little bit about my community service. It really has started when I was a little girl, and that would be in church. So I did a lot of community service with church. My grandfather was a pastor. Of course, my grandmother was the first lady and the choir director. And so we would travel and sing all throughout the community, sharing the gospel with the community. And I would also provide those services, singing and things from my schools that I grew up in, my high schools, all throughout my childhood. At the age of 17, I enlisted in what was called at the time a delayed entry program, and that was in the military. And so my public service continued and my community service continued, but it was upgraded from local to national. And I left for the Army and as soon as I turned 18, as soon as I graduated from high school, about a month later, I was gone to basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I actually grew up in Ohio. My family is from Georgia, but both of my grandfathers migrated to Ohio to look for better jobs, and they found that and created a good life for us. But I believe it was God that brought me right back here in Georgia at the age of 19 to continue the legacy that my grandfathers started. One was raised in Swainsboro, and the other was raised in what they call Rydell, Georgia, near Cartersville. And so I served in the military and was in the military during 9/11. So I went in 2000. 9/11 happened, and in 2003, I was in Iraq, and I went to war in 2003. And thank God I made it back safely. Lots of things I did over there in Iraq, but just to focus on my community service after serving in the Army, regular Army, I went into the Georgia Army National Guard to serve Georgia specifically. And then Hurricane Katrina came. So I went to war, and I also served during a national disaster because the Georgia Army National Guard did support Hurricane Katrina as well. From there was a lot of volunteering that I did as a veteran in the military communities. I continue to serve the National Guard, the families, uh, service members during ceremonies, promotions. I was always there to volunteer with things like that. And fast forward in 2016, 2017, I ran for office. That was my first time running for office. I was called into this space. I've always been a public servant. So as I look back, it makes sense that this is where I am today, but it's not something that I thought that I would be growing up. I looked at myself as either becoming an attorney and a singer were the two things that I was looking at. Did go to law school, but didn't complete it because I ended up running for office, and I chose to that path instead. And ran for state office, did not win, ran as a Republican in an area where there were more Democrats, and so they chose the incumbent. However, while I was running, uh, Governor Kemp was running. He was Secretary of State at the time. And so he was running for governor. And we met during that time. And I ended up actually helping his campaign when it came to veterans. They called me all the time. As a matter of fact, when he did his very first press conference as the Republican candidate for governor, I was standing right next to him. And so, although I did not win my election, fast forward, a friend of mine sent me a message and said, I want you to apply for a position on the state board for veterans. At the time, I didn't have a lot of knowledge of appointments, but what I knew was that that must be God, because for to work with Governor Kemp on his to work with his campaign to support veterans, and then months later to turn around and receive a message from someone who did not know I was, helping them when it came to veterans, send me a message and say, look at, apply for this appointment from the governor for veterans. So I know that I was the only one that was able to, put on my paperwork that I stood next to him when he did his first press conference for veterans and supported his campaign for veterans. And I was appointed for a 7-year term and served 7 years on the state board for veterans. We have close to 700,000 veterans. That's not including families. We are in the top 5 states for a population of veterans. And to have a position statewide like that again, but to serve on a different level versus when I was in the National Guard was a phenomenal experience for me. And I just resigned from that position to now run for lieutenant governor.